Hi everyone, Jason Fat Joe here to talk about the Electoral College, everybody's favorite subject. Who here remembers the election night, let's say 2016, 2012? Right? So whether the results were what you were going for, what you weren't going for, that doesn't matter, and that is not at all what this speech is about. But the odds are that, especially in the position that we're in, the results affected you in some way. We're going to talk about how the system currently works and a way to change that. I'm speaking about this as a concerned voter. My concern is not for who you vote for or how all of those votes are counted, but that they are counted. We're going to talk today about how the Electoral College currently operates, how a proportional system would work, and then how this change would be implemented. Understanding how any system works is the first step to any improvement. Let's start with how the Electoral College works. According to the Electoral College, an analysis, when an American votes in a presidential election, they're not casting a vote directly. That's not how our representational democracy works. We vote for electors who then in turn cast their vote for the president. It is designed to be proportional. So a state's population, as determined by census, gives them more or fewer votes with a minimum of 3 for their 2 senators and one House representative, or up to, I believe California has about 55. So the most populous state gets the most electoral votes. How these are determined is state by state. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 of the United States Constitution gives each state this power to say, this is how we want those votes to be distributed, how the votes within the state is going to determine which way those electoral votes go. Everybody tracking so far? Yeah. What most states have determined, 48 out of 50 states, say we're going to do the winner-take-all method, meaning whoever has the majority of the votes within the state gets the entirety of however many electoral votes they have. This is what gives them that agency and what a lot of the proponents of the popular vote take issue with, because the popular vote and the electoral vote have not matched in 5 out of however many elections we've had since the system was put in place. Since 1832, winner-take-all has been the preferred method and how they have chosen to do it. So we touched on this a little bit, but the reason this is an issue for many, about 60% of the nation is wondering why we do the electoral system this way. And that's because of it's been going back since at least 2000 when it got a lot of attention, that people feel disenfranchised by this, when it's more notable when a popular vote does not match the electoral vote. The issue is that it switches the focus to what we call swing states, or pivotal states. Here you can see Florida on a swing. These pivotal states end up being what the majority of the focus of the attention gets relegated to, because red states tend to vote red, blue states tend to vote blue, so candidates don't care about either of those. They just focus directly on which states historically can go either way and then try to influence the vote in those specific regions. Florida is another famous example, especially with the 2000. They have about 25 electoral votes based on 23 representatives, 2 senators. And those 25 votes are not guaranteed like, say, Arizona or California. So the current system, this winner-take-all system, brings all the attention toward these swing states. And this debate is not new. In 1949, a senator defending the proportional system stated that the unit rule, or this all-or-nothing winner-take-all system, perpetuates the so-called pivotal state evil, where these states get all the attention. If the Electoral College was designed to give a voice to the nation, and this is how it has been implemented, this has a tendency to treat these states as monolithic entities, like every person in that state thinks this same way. What would the alternative be? That's why we're going to talk about the proportional system. It is not a change to the Electoral College. It's still utilizing the Electoral College, just in a bit of a different way. We can see here how it worked in a recent election. You've got on the left here how the results panned out, what we got. On the right there is how those same votes would have been distributed in a proportional system. So what you see here is that you don't have strict red, blue, green, light purple. Those are these three up here. That's kind of interesting. Went to Colin Powell in Oregon, and that wasn't because they have a proportional vote system. That was because of faithless electors. So if you take that same diagram over the other map, you see that they're now taking those same electoral votes and just splitting them proportionally to how the votes were received within those states. It's not the easiest thing to see, so we'll zoom in just a little bit. Okay, how it was and how it would work. I'm going to zoom in here on Michigan. It's kind of split between these two. So in Michigan, just 11,000 votes out of a state with a population of 10 million people. 11,000 votes altered which direction all 16 of their electoral votes went. With a proportional system, rather than an all or nothing, you would have potentially 7 of those going toward the person who lost those 11,000, and 9 going to the other winner. Or it could be split. It's depending on the proportion, again, of the amount of votes and which direction they went. Honestly, with the way the votes tallied out, you could make a pretty reasonable argument that could have been 8 and 8. So what we see here, there are no more solid red states, there are no more solid blue states. You have each vote getting a part of how their state is tallied. What this means is that a Republican vote in California would actually matter. A Democratic vote in Alabama would matter. It would be tallied. There are very few states that actually have what we would consider to be a monolithic vote in which the entire state went in one particular direction. Everybody tracking there? So these votes, or this tally, is even kind of hobbled by the current system. There are voters, if they're going to go against which way their state has historically gone, they don't bother showing up. They don't vote. So we don't actually know what a proportional tally would work out to when people don't feel like they are subjected or relegated to whatever the majority would do. Good there? Oops, sorry. Then the question comes to, how would we implement this? Again, Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 says that the power is with the states. While the people that have pushed for a popular vote system that would require a constitutional delegation to change how the Constitution works, again, it's an article, it's not even an amendment to the Constitution. It's hard written in there. So a proportional vote system, since it's still utilizing the elements of the Electoral College, it's not abolishing it, it's using it in order to get that population to be represented, would not require any of that, just a state-by-state implementation. Tracking? Okay. To review, we talked about how the Electoral College operates, we talked about how a proportional system would work, how this change would be implemented, and hopefully the biggest takeaway was why. Those that are in favor of the Electoral College want to make sure that each state still gets a voice. There are what they call the flyover states, the square states in the middle, that have a large sway in current elections, and that's the way the system is designed. They want to make sure that the low populated states are still a big voice in Congress, so that they are in the nation, so that they don't get forgotten. We want to make sure that is still captured, that intent still goes on, but we want to make sure that people have a reason to voice their civic responsibility on the national scale. So the proportional vote answers both of those concerns, ensuring everyone's vote counts, and at the end, is that not everyone's goal? Thank you.